Hi everyone, quick introduction. I'm Louise Usher and I head up Credo in South Africa. The news of South Africa being placed on the FATF grey list was not unexpected, and I'm sure you feel the same. It felt quite good to move past the speculation and just think about the way forward. And that's what we're going to be doing for the next 15 minutes or so, is chatting you through what does it mean from Credo's perspective to now onboard a client who is resident in a high-risk jurisdiction. I'm delighted to be joined by two of our most senior compliance resources, Mazar and Rafaela. Rafaela joined our business in 2015 and Mazar joined us last year. Both Mazar and Raf are based in our head office in London. Thanks for your time, Mazar and Raf, and welcome.
Hi, Louise.
Mazar, let's start with you. I'm a financial advisor based in South Africa, and really it's a very simple case. It's an individual investor that I'd like to invest with Credo directly. What are the changes? What does it mean to onboard my client now with Credo?
Can I start, Louise, by just stressing that the change, South Africa being added to the Financial Action Task Force grey list, and also to the UK's high-risk third countries list, is an industry-wide requirement. So it's going to affect not just Credo, but all other UK regulated firms. What this means for you is that you need to take a few additional steps before you submit the account application to Credo. We now need to apply enhanced due diligence to South Africa accounts to open the account. So we'll require all new applications to be accompanied with the enhanced due diligence, which basically is certified copy of ID, certified copy of proof of address, certified copy, evidence of the source of funds and source of wealth, as well as account purpose.
Thanks for that, Mazar. I'm going to pull you back if you don't mind. It might sound a little bit trivial, but it's actually something we get stuck on in South Africa, and that is proof of address. What is an acceptable proof of address for Credo?
So no change here. The documents must include the individual's residential address, and PO box addresses are not acceptable. It also has to have been issued in the past 3 months. So examples are a bank statement, a utility bill, a notice of coding issued by the government, or a credit card statement are some examples of acceptable documents. A mobile phone bill is an example of a document that wouldn't be acceptable. If your underlying investor doesn't have the standard evidence of proof of address, we may be in exceptional circumstances able to accept certain other documents, and you can speak to our client services team if that situation applies to you.
Thanks, Mazar. Raf, I'm going to move over to you. Talk me through the nuts and bolts of source of funds and source of wealth. What does it mean, and what, importantly, is acceptable evidence thereof?
Source of funds and source of wealth forms part of the EDD, enhanced due diligence. Source of funds is not to know only where the funds are coming from, like South African bank accounts. You need to understand what activities generated the funds that are being used for a specific transaction. Source of wealth is to know the entire net worth of the investor. What activities generated the entire net worth of the investor? And that also we want to understand that the funds are coming from clean sources. Our application forms have been designed to facilitate the completion of the source of funds and source of wealth information. If you select employment as being the source of funds or source of wealth, then you should complete the box below to say what is the nature of the business of the employment, the jurisdiction of the employment. If the source of funds and source of wealth is dividends from a business, then you should select that in the application form and then add the information about the business, the name of the business, the geographical location of the business activities, and the nature of the business. In terms of verification of source of funds and source of wealth, if it's from employment earnings, we would like to see pay slips at least 3 months, along with bank statements showing the receipt of salary. If it's the business activities, then we would like to see proof of the business, proof of the ownership of the business. So certificate of incorporation, shareholder register, and then the evidence of the income of the business. So letters from the business in terms of dividends paid, audited statements, then we would like to see at least 3 years of audited statements.
Thanks, Raf. Mazar, right at the beginning, my example to you was an individual investor that is investing directly and opening an account with Credo, with their financial advisor. As you and I both know, many of our clients in South Africa and their financial advisors elect to invest via one of the branch endowments, commonly referred to as the wrappers. How does this change if a client is investing with Credo via one of the branch endowments?
The good news, Louise, is that there's no change. Where you're investing in one of our wrappers, in one of the wrappers, including Glacier International, Old Mutual International, Momentum Wealth International, there's no change to our current process. You're obviously required to comply with their client due diligence requirements, but there should be no additional requirements from Credo.
That's excellent news. Thanks, Mazar. So, Raf, I'm going to throw one in at you now. So my client is a Channel Islands trust. Let's say the trust is domiciled in Jersey. It's a low-risk jurisdiction. So surely Credo's client is low risk. Easy peasy.
So it will depend, Louise, because if the settler of that trust is resident or the source of funds or source of wealth is from a higher risk jurisdiction, then EDD applies.
Thanks, Raf. Mazar, I'm going to come back to you if you don't mind. One of Credo's unique features is how we contract with financial advisors. Will you chat us through this and whether grey listing has any impact on our arrangement and contractual structure with financial advisors?
I agree with you, Louise. Our FI model is unique. The financial institution is our client for all instructions and communications, and that means the advisor completes the application form and submits it directly to Credo. And the good news is not changing. However, it's important for me to stress that we're unable to start the account opening process piecemeal. In other words, we need all of the documents, including the due diligence, submitted as a single pack and together. Also, on a separate note, when we initially signed terms with the FI, we applied and obtained standard or simplified due diligence. We're reviewing our files and may need to revert to obtain some updated information in due course.
Thanks, Mazar. I think, Raf, that brings me to another important point. Let's take a client who was onboarded with a financial intermediary a few years back, and at that stage, South Africa was not high risk, and the client was resident in a low risk jurisdiction. What about those accounts? Is there remediation that may be required?
Yes, we will have to apply to do some remediation exercise on the existing accounts. We'll be checking the files and contacting the FIs in due course. But it's important to note that opening a new account or sending further funding into the account, that is deemed as a trigger event, meaning that we will have to apply enhanced due diligence in those circumstances.
Am I correct in my understanding, Mazar, that if we view a client as high risk, it's not just the initial due diligence documentation, but rather Credo have an ongoing obligation to monitor that client? Can you just chat us through what this means?
You're absolutely correct, Louise. Besides the enhanced due diligence at onboarding, high-risk accounts also require enhanced monitoring. Therefore, we're going to be monitoring transactions in the accounts and will request the description of source of funds and supporting evidence whenever new assets are transferred into that account, for example.
Thanks, Mazar. Raf, last question for you. As you and I both know, Credo is a business that is really driven to deliver on exceptional experiences and outcomes for our valued financial advisors who work with us. Whether that be in the form of our investment solutions, our market-leading platform, or the technology that we use. Have you, from a compliance perspective, considered how technology can perhaps assist in providing a more seamless and swift account opening process?
Yes, Louise, we are looking at an external solution for electronic verification, and we will be providing further information in due course, but that hopefully will facilitate the account opening.
Thank you for your time, Mazar and Raf. I think from my perspective, it's fair to say this is not just about the due diligence documentation, but rather really understanding the flow of funds, the source of wealth and the source of funds, and being able to understand what evidence is required by Credo in the account opening process. We're committed to working with our financial advisors as both Credo and their businesses journey through this FATF grey listing. And we look forward, more importantly, to celebrating the day when South Africa is taken off the grey list. We're very happy to arrange one-on-one training sessions if that's helpful, whether this be in terms of how to complete the account opening forms, understanding the due diligence guide, or perhaps just how to navigate InfoHub and answer some of the questions that I'm sure you're faced with on a daily basis. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to chatting again soon.